All right, here we are, another episode of Flipping Houses for Rookies. Yay.
Yeah. Hey there.
Episode number 385. Good morning, Peter. How are you today?
Doing all right. Morning, Bill. Morning,
Here
every
is,
or afternoon or evening or three in the
whenever
morning.
you're listening,
3 in the morning.
here is today's podcast title Hidden Gems. Unleashing the best creative real estate opportunities today. I have a very different podcast for today. And
No
it's
way.
not so much that it's the podcast, it's the format on what we're going to do.
Oh, okay.
So yes, it's going to be fun. So here we go. Here is the description. What if? Hmm. Buckle up because in this episode, we dive headfirst into the thrilling world of unearthing creative real estate gems you will want to know and use. It'll leave you wondering why you aren't doing more deals. More to the point, how much money you are losing by letting life get in the way and not doing simple, the word is simple deals like we are going to talk about today. Crack the code of skipping the beginner step in creative real estate. Challenge the status quo economy and discover how your success lies in the obvious. Unleash your inner Indiana Jones and get to the treasure. If you are tired of the same old cookie cutter type podcast with predictable outcomes, then you are going to love the gems we are going to drop today. See real estate and your potential financial health with a whole new set of eyes. Light the fire under your entrepreneurial spirit and prepare to discover the hidden gems whispering right under your nose. You just need to know where to look and how to listen to find them.
Boy, you must have lots of fun coming up with all these fancy $4 words when you write this stuff, don't you?
What's the $4? Which one was the $4 word?
Lots of them. It was pretty flowery. It was very imagery. I could see it.
That's the
You
plan.
paint nice pictures, just like musicians with their songs. Nice job. Tell us what it is, though. Go.
All right. So first of all, let's do some housekeeping. Thank you very much for your support. If you want to be or you want to participate in the podcast with us, we record it every Thursday morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. There are times, around holidays and stuff like that, we do change it, but for the most part, we do it Thursday morning, every Thursday morning, 9:30 Eastern Standard Time. If you go to Facebook, YouTube, and or LinkedIn, YouTube is what we push the most. But if you go there while we are recording, you can type in wherever the platform lets you type in and ask your questions, and we'll answer them immediately as long as they pertain to the podcast. If not, then you can go to WhatsApp Messenger. We have a group called Let's Talk Real Estate, and there's 100 and something people in there, and it's like a little mastermind group. I did that because Napoleon Hill said you need to have a mastermind group, from Think and Grow Rich. Or you can go to flippinghousesforrookies.com. Top right hand side is support. You can send us a support ticket. Also, make sure you subscribe to us and you like us or leave us a comment or a review wherever you're watching us or whatever you're doing. Okay? I promise you, I will not leave you hanging with today's podcast. I put a link in the description. So I put a new bundle together of scripts and documents that you can get with a calculator. So I encourage you to go check it out. Actually, what it is you don't have to. I mean, there's stuff there to buy, but you don't have to buy anything. You should go watch the we did a case study with one of our students from Creative REI Replay for an hour, 59 minutes of how he is doing this.
Mm.
And it is a wonderful. He could teach you something better than I could because it's different words.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you should go on the link and you should go check that out. Okay, ready? Here we go.
All right.
What if you could find a deal this week and that deal brought you 10K or 20K or more easily within the next few weeks? What if you found a deal this year that brought you over $303,000? What if you had a consistent flow of leads where you would never have to worry about making offers and finding deals to fund your life? What if you had a fast pace? Let me read this right. I'm going to do it again. I can't read my own writing. What if you had a fast pass that would skip the beginner stage of creative real estate and put you in the profit lane fast? What if you entered the market at the perfect time and didn't have to put up with all of the inflated prices like we have been dealing with for the last several years? What if you got all these answers right here today?
Mm.
How am I doing so far?
It's a lot of what ifs, but real estate is big. Had it on the news this morning. Our friend Grant was on speaking a little
I
bit.
saw him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Did you see that? Yeah.
yeah.
That's
Yeah, I
good.
think he's a little bit out to lunch, but we'll see what happens. What was interesting was the number of units he said he had. I think it was, I forgot what the number is, 12,000 or something like that.
5,000? Remember 5,000?
I heard 12,000, but yeah,
Oh.
whatever. Anyways,
Huh.
it was a lot of units, a lot of doors,
Yeah.
meaning apartment buildings, apartments in general.
Yeah.
That
How many
means rent.
units?
Door means
Yeah.
a rent.
Yeah.
All right. So here's the plan for today.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to skip all of the theory because I usually do the theory in the beginning and just unleash the deal structuring math on the best two strategies for today's market.
Mm-hmm.
And they're the best two strategies, and I picked them because, and I know I'm going to get a support ticket on this, so I'm just going to answer it. So, Peter, you should ask, why these two strategies?
Well, I don't know what they are yet, but if there's only 2 out of the 7, why are those applicable in today's environment and economy? What fits?
So my answer is because we're leaving one market and going into another market. So these two strategies work because one is the exit of the really high market, and one is the entrance of the new market about to hit us.
Right. Now, you're not talking about a location market. You're talking about the condition it's in, the situation it's in, as markets change from this type to that type.
I'm talking about the country.
Yeah.
So when I read yesterday's statistics that 45% of all realtor agencies are having trouble paying their rent.
Yeah. Saw that too.
When I see that Congress is trying to, and I'm not talking about Congress, I'm talking about the Senate, not Congress, the Senate.
Yeah.
The Senate is trying to pass a bill right now that people like Blackstone can't buy single family houses anymore. In other words, hedge funds can't
Yeah.
buy single family houses anymore.
Okay, I missed that one. That's really real. Oh,
Yeah.
Jesus.
And on October 31st, we already know, because we did several podcasts, how NAR got sued for
Yeah.
1.78 billion. So, and they're trying to revive themselves right now. This is my personal opinion. The Democrats are trying to revive themselves. They came out and released that 8% is the highest they're going to go on interest, because they went too far, and now
mean
the
the
market
Fed?
stopped. Yeah.
Oh, for mortgages or the Fed?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I don't understand your query, but okay. But they announced that 8% is the cap.
Yeah.
And I don't know where you are, but where I am here in Florida, the gas prices are going down. Sometimes 10 cents a day.
Really?
I mean, I saw gas yesterday. I think I paid $2.64 for gas yesterday.
Well, I'm going to drive down there, get my gas.
So they're trying to make changes because the Democratic ratings are very low. So they're nervous.
The election's coming up. Time to put up.
All right. So back to the podcast. The first thing I want to talk about is the first transaction that we're going to talk about. That's been more likely. The first transaction we're talking about needs no deed. Absolutely no risk at all. None.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And what I'm going to cover is technically the Grand Slam offer.
Right.
Technically. But I'm not going to talk about the theory and what to say. I'm going to just talk about the numbers and why I so boldly make the comments on so many podcasts that when you make this offer to the seller, they feel stupid saying no. And I'm going to show you why this works, because I realize I've talked about this a lot and I haven't given any meat of why it works. So today I'm going to give you just raw data as if you were like a new hire that I just had, which I don't hire people that much these days. But if you were my new acquisition manager, here's how I would explain it to you.
Mm-hmm.
So let's say you have a house worth $425,000. Is that more real, Peter, instead of my $200,000?
Yeah, people think we're old or something otherwise.
So let's say I have a house that's worth $425,000 and the seller wants how much? $425,000.
Yeah. Want my asking price.
Now, how about this? Let's make it a little bit difficult for Bill.
Yeah.
And the seller wants all cash.
Okay.
Right? Because here's what happened is we started our script by saying, our pleasantries. You have time to talk to me. Okay, good. Is the house still for sale? Yes. Okay. Whose name is on the deed? Mine is. Okay, good. And the next question is, how much you asking for the house?
$425.
And then we have the fork in the road, as I call it, because this tells us whether it's a need or greed deal. And this tells us which script to use. So what I call my solopreneur script is the need script. And what I call the Grand Slam offer is the greed script.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the fork in the road. So when they say, I want $425,000, you're going to respond by saying, okay, well, the only way that I could pay $425,000 is to make I'm going to say it again. The only way I could pay $425,000, and as is conditioned, without any landlord obligations, is if I make monthly payments. Is that something we could talk about? And some will say, yeah, what does that mean? And most will say, like 90-something% will say, no, I want all cash. So this is the fork in the road. That paragraph is the fork in the road.
Sure.
Okay. So I would start the conversation this way. Ready?
Yep.
What if I knew how to get you $602,000 for the house? Would you be interested? What do you think they'll say?
They'll hang up.
So they're either going to, one, think it's a scam.
Yep.
Or two, how could you do that?
Yep.
Either way, you say, let me explain. So what did I not just say there, Peter? What did I not do?
Well, I really know
about the
Huh?
scam, about the scam. What
Oh,
did I not do about when
oh,
they said this is a scam?
you didn't, you ignored it because that's just people yapping, making comments, blah, 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 blah. You can have an argument on it, won't get you anywhere. Just move on.
My mother, in about, well, let me see, 3 weeks is going to be 81 years old.
Mhm.
If I had $5, now I talk to my mom, which is new because my dad passed away this year. I didn't do this before. I used to talk to her once or twice a month. Now I usually talk to her every other day. I've been kind of busy lately, so it's been a couple times a week. But usually I talk to her at least 3 or 4 times a week, if not more, depending on how well my sisters are doing, how much time they're giving her. If I had $5 for every time she told me something was a scam, I probably could work about 20 hours less a week. Because to her, everything is a scam. If it doesn't logically make sense, it's a scam. And I have news for you. This is my own observation, and this is a diversion, but you need to come to this realization. There's a gap in the market right now, a very huge gap that's getting mended, and it's causing all of these problems. And the root of the problem of all of the realtors getting sued and the hedge funds trying to get stopped and realtors not being able to pay their rent all comes down to this theory. 55% of the market right now is millennials. Okay, that's not the problem. The problem is who are the millennials buying from?
Ew.
They're buying from the boomers.
Yeah.
So you got millennial buyers and boomer sellers.
Ooh, that's so bad.
And there's a
That's
big
like a bad.
communication gap
Oh,
between them.
are you kidding? What do you think my holidays are like?
Yeah.
Get together with the family, like it's just like we didn't have a generation gap until recently. We like more of the same music. We have a lot. We wear the same. Wear sneakers and wear jeans. But boy, you start talking anything important, it's different.
Yeah. All right, so let's continue. So I say to them, let me explain. So I don't take up it's a scam. I don't. Grant Cardone says, in which you should go buy the book called
Sell.
Sell or Be Sold.
Yeah.
Right? He says in there 85% of what people say to you are a complaint. 85% of their comments are complaints. 85%. And he has a word for it. I can't remember what he calls it.
Comments?
No, it's not a comment. That's a synonym for it.
Yeah, so like distractions, something like that.
Yeah. I forgot what it says, but
your point in his is that they're not valid things you got to talk about and handle. It's just blah blah blah, things that people just complain about that don't have anything to do with buy or not buy it.
So here's what you do. When something like that happens, you understand them. Oh, I get what you mean. That's what you mean by you make sure that they feel like they were understood.
Yeah.
You acknowledge them and you ask the question again, or you move on the script.
Yeah.
It works every time. If you understand that formula, it will change your life. If you're in sales, that will change your life. If you have somebody in your family, if you have somebody in your family that talks too much, do that. Just understand them, acknowledge them, and ask your question again. It will work. The reason why somebody's talking too much is because they feel like they weren't acknowledged or understood.
Yep.
Okay. Here we go. Let me explain. I would start off by going through the closing costs, which are all on the script, which are in the link in the chat or link in the description.
Yeah.
Right? I would start off by going through the closing costs step by step. Now, here's something that you probably haven't. I've said it before, but you've never commented on it, so I want to make sure I emphasize it here.
Okay.
Okay. I explain if they use a realtor, it's about 15% for closing costs.
Mm.
If they sell on their own, it's about 10%.
Mm-hmm.
I used to have a different description for that, but I've been using that lately, and it works.
Okay.
Okay, so I explained to them that if you're going to use a realtor, it's about 15%. If you're not going to use a realtor, it's about 10%
Mm.
for closing costs. No way around it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
are you ready?
Go ahead.
We understand that, right? So we're going to save them all that money. How much money are we going to save then, Peter?
Well, 15% if they use a realtor, and if they try to sell it by themselves, we're going to save them 10%.
Okay, so 15% is $63,750.
Mm.
Woo! 15% is $63,750.
And they think they're getting 425. They're not getting
Yes.
425.
And they think they're getting 425 minus 5% for the realtor.
Yeah.
Which is 20 grand.
Yeah.
Not 63,000.
Yep.
Right? 10% is $42,500.
Mm-hmm.
So right off the bat, you're saving them $60,000.
Mm-hmm.
Then we move on after we do that. That's all part of the script. It's a little bit longer. I'm not going to go over it today because I'm not here to explain the script to you. I'm just here to do the deal structuring math so you can understand why we call it the Grand Slam offer. What does Grand Slam mean?
Well, it's from baseball, isn't it? Grand Slam.
Yeah.
There's three guys on base. You hit a home run. Everybody comes in. Score, 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 score. So it's a lot of win. So this is a big win with a lot of profit centers. More money than you ever think of. Until you look at them all at once and you go, that's a lot of money.
Yep, you nailed it. Okay, good. The second thing I'm going to do is because, and pay attention to me because I'm going to end, before I end this podcast, in about 10 minutes, I'm going to move on to the second deal because I'm
Okay.
timing myself.
Okay.
Because interest rates have been low for like 13 to 15 years.
Mm.
The average mortgage interest rate you're going to find is about 4%. There are 5%, there are 2%, there are 3%. I just picked 4%. These are real numbers now, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But when the seller sells right now, he has a 4% mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
When the buyer buys right now, they got to pay 8%.
That's right.
So let me give you those examples.
Mm-hmm.
On $425,000, which they probably owe less than that.
Oh yeah.
But I'm going to keep the numbers the same.
Okay.
They probably owe 200, and inflation has made it go up 200.
Yeah.
Or 100 or whatever the number is, right? Which is why it's been so tough lately, is because there's so much appreciation that you can't make a mistake these days. And even if you are in trouble, you can get out of it because the price of the house has gone up so much.
Yeah.
Right? So here we go. At 4%, the payment is $2,779 per month.
Okay.
Now, I used $6,000 for taxes and $3,000 for insurance, because in this house, that's about what it would be. The 3,000 is probably a little bit high on insurance, but if you're getting renter's insurance, I want to make sure you're covered.
Got it.
So with those numbers in there, it's $2,779. That's with taxes and insurance. That's loaded up. That's what we call PITI, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
At 8%, it's $3,978. $3,978. Now, the difference between the two is $1,198.
Mm-hmm.
So by just coming along, the first thing you're going to do is you're going to save the seller $63,750 for closing costs, because you're not going to need them. And if you're asking who pays the closing costs, well, when the buyer actually closes in 2 years from now or 3 years from now, it's less than 3%, and the buyer will pay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so don't worry about asking that question, because you're not. It's so minimal, because what happens is that money that you normally would charge, you get to keep because you're going to do all the work instead of the realtor doing all the work in the realtor system and all the professionals taking their fees 2%, 3%, 5%, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to take that money for doing your work. You get paid that money for doing the work.
Makes sense.
Right. All right. So watch this. So there's a difference between $1,198. So we're going to tell the seller we're going to go get them $3,978 a month for this property, because the reason why is because we don't use rentometer.
Mm-hmm.
We don't use rent values because we are not renting.
Mm.
We are selling the property to an end user that's going to use the property. They're going to live in the property. They're going to use the property, and they're going to stay in the property. They are going to buy it. The
Yep.
lease is the wrong word because really it's an intermediate mortgage until they can get qualified to get a new mortgage.
Mm.
So the lease is really them paying to use the property until they get qualified for a mortgage. So we're not using a rent value because we want them to pay a payment that's current to what their mortgage is going to be. Because otherwise they'll never want to cash out. If they were paying $27.79 and their new mortgage is going to be $39.78, how long do you think it's going to be before they cash you out?
No, and that's one of the things that I saw when I was working on this last year or so. I see the rent is around 27, and the mortgage is going to be 39. I'm thinking, who's going to do that? So the more people are renting now and not buying the house because they can't afford it. But if they want the house and they can do it, they're going to pay that 3,900.
Right.
Might as well start now, so you know you can do it. Then you know that they can afford it, and then when it gets there, they're all right because they've been doing that.
Here we go. $1,198.
Mm-hmm.
It's $14,388 for 1 year.
Mm-hmm.
It's $43,163 for 3 years, which is what I suggest you do nowadays, is a 3-year lease.
Yeah,
And you sitting down?
I am in my comfortable chair.
$71,939 for 5 years. The seller's making this money because you're leaving the deal.
Right. The tenant buyer's in there waiting to get a mortgage for 2-3 years. In the
And paying
meantime,
the seller.
the
No
seller's
landlord
making all that.
obligations, nothing.
Yeah.
The third thing I'm going to tell them is because they don't live in the house, and I actually have the I'm going to do this the right way. The
Yeah.
third thing I'm going to tell them is that the owner, the new owner, is going to pay a lease.
Yeah.
Which means technically they're renting the property, but that they're just using the property until they get qualified for a mortgage.
Right.
The point in using that language is that they do not get a rent. The rent does not get a principal reduction for them.
Yeah. It's not a credit toward. It's not a credit toward the mortgage.
When they're paying the $4,000 a month, there's no credit towards the purchase. That's right.
Yeah.
We don't do that. We do it, but above and beyond that number. That's another podcast, right?
Yeah.
But here's the thing. The seller receives that money, that $3,900, or we'll say $4,000,
Mm-hmm.
and they pay the mortgage, right?
Yeah.
So whose money is paying the mortgage?
It's really coming from the buyer.
Right. So here's what happens is the seller gets a principal buy down every time they pay the mortgage. So
Yeah.
the mortgage has interest and principal in the payment.
Mm-hmm.
And an amortization form means that it breaks down how much interest and how much principal you're paying on each payment.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's what an amortization does. It runs it out so you can see how much you're paying for the entire loan.
Mm-hmm.
I picked in my numbers. I picked 12 months.
Hmm.
So if you had a mortgage for 1 year, here are the numbers, which are extremely, extremely, extremely conservative. Because if they've had the mortgage for 10 years, this number goes up like 5 times.
Sure.
For the first year, the seller gets $7,622.
Mm-hmm.
For 3 years, they get $22,866. For 5 years, they get $38,111. principal reduction. With me?
Yeah, which means when he sells the house, he gets that much more
Right.
in the closing. So this, to me, this is money in the bank. He's not getting a check in his pocket, but that comes off what he owes. So if he doesn't owe it, he gets to keep it when the house sells. So down the road, it's a nice fat little piggy bank piece.
Number 4, because they don't live in the house, the government allows them to take depreciation over 27 and a half years, which is 3.64% per year.
Mm-hmm.
Depreciation, that means taxes, right? Taxes you don't have to pay. So think of it this way. If you make 100 grand a year,
Mm-hmm.
you can write these numbers off as income. Kiyosaki talks about this in his cash flow quadrant.
Mm-hmm.
Before taxable, after taxable.
Mm-hmm.
So this is before taxable income. So you get to, so if you're making 100, well, let me give you the numbers. 1 year is $3,249, $3,249.
Mm-hmm.
3 years is $9,746. 5 years is $16,244. So if you make $100,000 and you lease for 3 years, you get to take $10,000 off of your income.
Mm-hmm.
You
Or
don't have
that
to pay
three,
taxes
or
on it.
the yearly, every year you could take off what it is for the year.
3,200. Yeah.
It'll happen every year because we go to our accountant and he does these things for us. We sit there and he saves us money. And then you pay taxes on less income.
The fourth thing I'm going to tell them, because we had to start doing this about a year or two back, because of the market, is we're going to write into our option agreement with the buyer that if they pay us within the first 12 months or pay the seller off within the first 12 months, they pay off $425,000.
Yeah.
If they don't pay off in the first 12 months, which is an incentive for them to go get a mortgage right away, which most don't, then in the lease it says the price of the house goes up 0.25% per month, which is 3% a year, which is national average.
Right, for appreciation on a house. It's been more lately, but that's just a conservative average.
So we had to
100
do
years,
this.
probably.
We had to do this because people were like, with the appreciation being so much, they're like, well, why would I sell my house for $425 now, and in 3 months it's going to be worth more, and then I don't get that money.
Yeah.
Right. So this is why we put it in there.
Mm-hmm.
1 year on this house is $12,750. 3 years, $38,250. 5 years, $63,750.
But that first increase happens at the second year, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So the first year it doesn't apply, but from that point, okay.
The grand total.
Mm.
If the seller decides to do a lease option with you, or what we call a slot deal,
Yeah,
which we never do them for a year, but the first year they make $101,759. Technically, they're selling the house for $526,759. For 3 year, which is what I suggest, 3 years, if they hold the house for 3 years and do a slot deal and let a person go in the house and rent from them until they get qualified for a mortgage. Ready?
yeah.
They make $177,776. They make $177,776. Means they're technically selling the house for $602,776. If they go 5 years, they make $253,793. They're technically selling the house for $678,793. $678,793. Now, let's say you got a 3 year lease, and I'm not going to dwell on this because I'll move on to the next deal.
Yeah.
Let's say you got somebody interested and they want to do a 3 year lease option with you on a slot deal. So first of all, do you think that we have their attention, and do we deliver what we promised?
It's
Absolutely.
just math if they listen, you know. It's just numbers. I think the problem with this is no one ever thinks of all of them added up. They think I only get this much for rent,
Yeah.
and they don't think of the other numbers.
Right.
When you add it, it's like I make $29 an hour. Big deal. At the end of the week, it adds up pretty good, or 30 or 40. It adds up.
When I invented this, I actually skipped a huge profit center, which I'm going to talk about in a minute.
Oh,
Yeah, but there's a huge profit center. It's actually more than these numbers, but it's a huge profit center. Huge,
okay.
huge profit center. It's huge.
Okay.
Okay. If for some reason your person says I need 20 grand to go buy a new house, you're going to say, so are you going to give up 20,000? Are you going to give up $177,000 to go find 20 grand? They will miraculously go figure out that 20 grand somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because they're making $177,000.
Yeah.
If somebody says they have $100,000 worth of equity in the house and they want to get their money now, you're going to ask them, is it worth giving up $177,000 to get 100 grand?
Mm.
Why don't you refinance the house or get a HELOC or go figure out another way to do it? Because you're giving up $77,776 by wanting 100 grand.
Well,
Why
just
would
the
you do
money
that?
they make on the increase in like the payment because of the appreciation and what the mortgage is going to be, that $1,200 a month he's going to get extra,
Right.
that'll pay for the HELOC.
Right.
Hello. It pays for it.
All right, let's move on. Did I prove my point? By the
I've
way,
been-
that's
I've been
not
convinced.
getting a deed. That's just all you're doing is you're buying an option agreement for $100 and you're assigning it to somebody for 10, 20, 30. In this particular case, I don't have my calculator with me. In this particular case, you're going to make $40,000. At least 20, I mean 5% on 400,000 would be $25,000.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to make $25,000 to know how to talk to this person this way and to be able to find that deal and do it within 30 days.
Right. And that's our fee for doing the transaction.
Right. That's our profit. No
That's
fee.
our profit.
We're not realtors. We don't get a
Yeah,
fee.
it's better to
our
say profit. Okay.
Yeah. All
And
right. So let's move on
Okay, go ahead.
because it's 37 and I'm behind.
Go ahead.
Imagine. So here's the second deal. You ready?
Yeah.
This we get a deed.
Mm.
Imagine this type of a deal in your near future.
Mm-hmm.
House is worth $350,000. Seller owes $260,000.
Okay.
The monthly payment interest is 4%. So that means the monthly payment is $1,857.45.
Yep.
I put $5,000 in for taxes and $2,000 in for insurance.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where that payment comes from. So if you're trying to do the numbers, make sure you add in $4,000 for $5,000 for taxes and $2,000 for insurance.
Mm-hmm.
So that payment comes out to be $1,857 on the $260,000. I'm assuming they got a mortgage for $260,000. They probably got a mortgage for more, but I'm guessing at this point. The interesting thing is that at 8%, you helped me with this the other night, which, by the way, thank you. You helped me fix all these numbers.
Mm.
At 8%, a $360,000 mortgage is $3,258. I get asked this a lot. I do not take the deposit money off of the $360 to figure out what my income should be.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know how much the down payment is going to be, and it's rent money. I don't have to be correct with it.
Yeah.
So I just use the selling price, the $360 times 8%, plus the $5,000 for taxes, plus the $2,000 for insurance, comes out to be $3,258.
Well, if anything, his mortgage payment will be a little bit less, which is more incentive for him to go get the mortgage. So it's not going to hurt anything. It's just you just leave the numbers pretty conservative, so everybody's safe.
That leaves us with a whopping $1,400.27 for our monthly profit.
Mm-hmm.
Just because we bought a mortgage, we assumed the mortgage. This is a subject to deal.
Yeah.
We assumed the mortgage at 4%, and we sold it we didn't sell the interest rate. We just sold the house on a rent payment, which is a beautiful thing. I could do a whole podcast just on this conversation on We buy the house on a mortgage and we sell the house on a rent. So we could make the rent anything we want. We don't have to
Mm.
go by the guidelines of like, so technically what we're doing is we're selling at 4%. I'm sorry, buying at 4%, selling at 8%, but we're not technically doing that because we don't want to get involved with the banking laws.
No, it's just that he gets the mortgage and it's going to be 8%.
Right.
So that's what it's going to be. It's not, we
And
didn't do it.
That's how we set our income. A lot of people ask me, how do you set the income for when you, that's how we do it. We use a mortgage.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Moving on. We're going to do this for 3 years. Right. Just for the standard 3-year lease. Option. This is to our buyer, lease option buyer.
Yeah.
So if you take $1,400.27, I'm going to knock off the 27 cents. If we take $1,400 and multiply it by 12, that's $50,409 a year. I'm sorry. No, that's $50,409 for 3 years.
Yeah.
So if you just got a subject to deal by accident, I'm going to tell you how to do this in a minute, by accident, and you just did what we're talking about, you'll make $1,400 a month. In 3 years, you'll make $16,000. 5 years, you make $84,000. 7 years, you make $117,000. 10 years, you make $168,000.
No, you say those numbers and people think, well, who's going to wait that long? You've got houses like that now. The people are still there, right?
Yeah.
They just never cashed you out. And
yeah, one of them, I think the oldest one, which my partner just stole the house from me. He literally stole the house from me. An ex-partner, my original partner. He's been in there, I think, 16 years.
Yeah.
So we bought this property subject to because we asked the seller in our script, which is in the script, would you sell the house for what you owe on it? And they said yes. They said yes because they had a job transfer. They had a job transfer a year ago or 10 months ago, and they've been paying the monthly mortgage all this time. So they're paying where they're living plus this mortgage with an empty house. Yeah. And the wife refused to rent it. She did not want the damage or the hassles of being an accidental landlord. So they're not looking for profit. They're just looking to get rid of the payment.
Yeah.
All right. So now let's add in all the rest of the profit centers. Because I just talked about the cash flow.
Right. Instead of the buyer getting that, we're in the middle as the intermediary buyer.
We got
we get those.
It's subject to, and we now get the deed. See, the other numbers I was giving you is the seller kept the deed, so they got all the benefits. But now, because we're doing a subject to deal, we get the deed, we get all those benefits I was just telling you about. We get well, obviously the closing costs, we don't get that, but we're going to get the principal buy down. Well, I'm going to go through all of it.
Yeah.
Okay. So here we go. Profit centers. You can easily sell for $360. It's worth $350. You can easily sell for $360, right? So the equity is a profit of $100,000, right?
Oh, from the 260.
Yeah.
Yeah, 360.
You took over the payment
from 260. Right? Yeah. Yeah.
Now, I can add $250 a month to the payments because remember, I figure out what the payments are going to be, and I always add a couple $100.
Right.
I do that because I want the rent payment to be higher than what the mortgage would be. And I tell them, I'm the big fat landlord, so you got to pay me off because you could save at least $250 a month, if not more, if you go get a mortgage. So it motivates them to go get a mortgage. Right? Yeah. So now let's look at those numbers. I added $250 to our payment. So the new payment is $3,508. Right?
Yeah.
That gives us a monthly profit of $1,650. That means in 1 year you make $19,809.
Yeah.
Right? 3 years you make $59,400. 5 years you make $99,000. Where are you going to make $99,000 for 5 or 10 hours worth of work? All right. Now let's do this bill style, okay?
Sure.
So we're in Bill's head right now. We're on Bill's plan, and in Bill's head, I'm looking at this deal as if it was a coaching client, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to ask myself, what's the money now?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the money now on a standard deal without any one of my tricks, which I have plenty of them. Money now, which I do in my coaching group. So if you're interested in that, you should let me know because this is how I make you money.
Mm-hmm.
Money now is $18,000. So you're going to close with your seller and you're going to assume that the house doesn't need much, which most of them don't if you get pretty houses. And you're going to sell it to your buyer with a 5% down payment,
Mm-hmm.
which is $18,000.
Yep.
Right? The
Mm-hmm.
money monthly is $1,650 or $99,000 for 5 years, which is common.
Yeah.
Right? And the money later is $82,000. So the money later is $82,000 because you sold for $360, you
Mm-hmm.
took an $18,000 down payment, and you still owe $260.
Mm-hmm.
That equals $82,000.
Right.
That's a grand total of $199,000.
That was 3 years.
It's for 5 years.
That's 5 years.
Well, I don't know. I think it's for, well, it doesn't matter. I did it for 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
I could do it for 3 years, but I did it for 5
Okay.
years.
Okay.
So it's $200,000 in 5 years for asking one question on one deal. Would you sell the house for what you owe on it? Okay, you with me so far?
Yep.
You
Mm-hmm.
think I'm done?
I'm gonna guess no.
Yeah.
What else?
15
Yeah.
more minutes, and I'm going to hit you with the punchline now.
Do you have something that I haven't seen you do?
No? Well,
You said
you've seen it, but
Okay.
sometimes
Okay.
you. Yeah, we did
No,
these
you
numbers.
said you had something that was something else. I don't know if that's something else that they haven't seen or I hadn't seen. Go ahead. Let's see if I know it.
Here's my question.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm not going to do that yet. Why are you not doing these deals? What in your life is stopping you from making $200,000? If you made $200,000 for the next 5 years, that's $1 million.
That's doing one deal a year like this?
Yeah, one deal a year.
Hmm.
So I'm being completely rude and out of control, but that recital you have to go to is costing you $200,000.
Yeah, but I
That
got to go buy
parent
some
that you need
Christmas
to go
presents.
visit, that doctor's office, all these excuses you're giving yourself. I'm working too much. By not putting away an hour or two a day to do real estate, and you don't even need to do that with Creative REI Replay these days. You could put away, you could do 5 hours a week and do these deals, right? By not doing creative real estate, you're giving up $1 million in the next 5 years. And that $1 million is not fake money. It's real hardcore money
Mm-hmm.
for buying 5 houses.
Yeah.
But I'm not done yet.
What's
I'm
left?
not done yet.
What's
Let's see.
left?
Let's see. But wait, there is more. Way, way, way more. That's the sentence I'm looking for.
But wait, there is more. What's left?
I'm messing around. Here we go. All right. So we got a house subject to. We're paying $1,857 a month.
Yeah.
We got the property with no money down, no credit check, no loans. Property doesn't need any repairs, we're speaking of.
Mm.
No landlording obligations. We sell it on a lease option that says that you've cut the grass and plow the snow and do the smoke detector. There's no boss like a bank telling you what you can and can't do. There's no inspections. There's nobody telling you got to fix something that doesn't need to be fixed. There's nobody controlling whether or not you can sell this property. You are the bank. You make the decisions.
Yep.
You're it.
Yep. You're the boss.
Right?
Yeah. You may not have the gold, but you got the property. And that's pretty good.
Okay. Now remember, We got $18,000 money now, $99,000 money monthly over a course of 5 years, and $82,000 in the back end.
Yeah.
That's $199,000.
Yeah.
What about the principal reduction on the mortgage, which is your fourth profit?
Yeah.
And then the depreciation you get from the government tax deduction, that's your fifth profit.
Mm-hmm.
And the one that I was alluding to so much is write off for the interest you pay on the original mortgage.
Yeah, that's right.
Your,
The interest, interest payments.
Sixth profit.
Yeah.
And how about I add an appreciation to the contract? I do 0.5%, but with my clients, I do 0.5% a month. With my clients, I do 0.25%.
Yeah.
Which is your seventh profit center.
Yeah.
So let's look at these numbers. Assuming the mortgage is less than 5 years old, and if it's not, you're just going to make bigger and bigger numbers, right? The principal reduction on this property is $1,603 a year.
Okay.
For 3 years, it's $4,808. For 5 years, it's $8,013.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so like you said, what does that mean? This means when you sell the house.
When you sell the house, you don't owe that amount anymore. So you get to keep more of the proceeds because you have to pay whatever you owe.
So now we don't owe $260 anymore. We owe $252.
That even sounds low. I bet it's a lot higher than that. That's really conservative.
Yep. That's because I'm only taking 12 months because the first 5 years is mostly interest. If this guy's in this thing for 5 years, that'll triple.
Well, I would, me, I'd go figure out what's the average amount of time people spend in the home before they move out. I would use that number if it's 3 or 5, because that'd be probably a ballpark realistic.
I'm
but you're being conservative.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. So even more shocking numbers, right? For a house you got subject to, like I said, and taking over the mortgage payment of $1,857 with no money down, no credit check, no loans, probably no repairs or very few repairs, no landlording, no boss telling you what to do. You're the bank, right?
Yep.
You get depreciation,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
Make sure I got these right. So the next thing is you got, so even more shocking numbers is the depreciation. So for 1 year, and this is profit center number 5, 1 year is $2,752. 3 years is $8,256. 5 years is $13,759.
And that's done on the current value of the house or what you just sold it for? Because there was a number when the guy bought it originally. Then there's a number right now. You're doing like the 360 for that?
Let your accountant figure that out. I did it on the 360.
Yeah, it's true though. Yeah, the accountant figures all this stuff out, and then you leave happily.
Now here's a whopper. The next number.
Yeah.
Write off for the interest you pay. Write off for the interest you pay. So when you write a check to the mortgage, so the tenant buyer is going to give you a money, right?
Yep.
Every month. And you're going to take that money and you're going to pay down your mortgage. You're going to pay your mortgage payment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or the seller's mortgage payment you bought it subject to.
Yeah.
So the first thing you're going to get is you're going to get principal reduction because every one of those payments has interest and principal, right?
Sure.
Well, what most people don't talk about, I don't know why nobody talks about it, is because in February of every year, the mortgage companies mail you a summary of what you paid for interest the prior year.
Mm-hmm.
You give that piece of paper to your accountant and you get 100% write-off on it.
That's right.
So in this particular case, our interest for 1 year is $7,280. For 3 years is $21,842. For 5 years is $36,403.
Hey, you know what's nice about that? If you're not getting a lot of principal reduction, you're getting a lot of interest reduction.
Yeah.
If the interest isn't that much, you're getting more principal. So you're getting, wait a minute, you're getting it coming and going?
Yep.
Unbelievable.
Who
made these laws up?
Yeah, the guys that make the most amount of money. Now for the icing on the cake,
Okay.
the 3% appreciation.
Yeah.
So your first year is 10,800. 3 years, it's $32,400,
Hmm.
and the fifth year, it's $54,000.
Yeah.
So let's start from the beginning to total it all up.
Oh boy.
So we started off with money now of 18,000,
Hmm.
money monthly at 99,000 for 5 years,
Hmm.
or $1,600 a month.
Mm.
I can tell you right now, Peter, most people have a mortgage of about $1,600 a month. So if you bought one house, your house becomes mortgage free because you take the profit from this house and pay your mortgage. You no longer have a mortgage on your house.
Yeah. The other example is $1,200 a month profit, 15, 16. That's what the payment used to be. Now that's the
Right.
profit now. That's
Right.
crazy.
Right. I'm on other coaching groups and they laugh at me because of how much money I make, and it's because I'm good at a damn calculator. And oh yeah, by the way, we do down payment assistance, which is another program
Mm.
that we're going to talk about some other time.
Hmm.
And it takes that 1,200 to 1,500. It takes this 1,600 to 1,900
Yeah.
because we get them to pay extra money for down payment assistance.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Which goes toward their down payment. So it's in their behalf, but they're paying us instead of the bank or the seller because we're
yeah.
the ones who are the owners now.
So all we're doing is we're taking our $82,000 and bringing it some of it forward by getting
Hmm.
payments on it. That's all we're doing, right? So we have 199,000. So we got $200,000 with money now, money monthly, money later.
Hmm.
Then we add the numbers we just talked about, which is 8,000, 13,000 for 3 years. It's $8,013 for principal reduction. I'm sorry, this is 5 years.
Yeah.
8,000 for principal reduction, 13,000 for depreciation, 36,000 for interest write-offs,
Hmm.
and 54,000 for appreciation. That's $303,162. $303,162. If you did one of these a year for 5 years, that's $1.6 million in 5 years. Where are you going to go and make $1.6 million for 5 or 10 hours worth of work a year? Let's say it's 40 hours worth of work a year, which is ridiculous because it shouldn't be that.
Hmm.
Where are you going to go and get 1.5 or $1.6 million at the end of 5 years for one deal a year? One deal a year. And you want to send me support tickets and tell me your sob stories about how your life is all turned upside down. So, what if you did one slot deal,
Yeah.
one slot deal a year, and one subject to deal a year? That's 2 deals,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So let's say your average slot deal is, let's say you're doing $300,000 houses. Your average slot deal is, we'll say 20 grand.
Okay.
That's another $100,000 in 5 years.
Mm.
So you could have done $403,000 by doing 2 deals a year. A year. 2 deals a year, one every 6 months. What are you doing in your life that you're stopping yourself from doing 2 deals a year on a 5-year plan? I don't get it. It just doesn't make sense to me. These are deals that need no money down. They need no credit checks. There's no loans. You're not borrowing any hard money, no private money. You're not wholesaling. You're not doing any one of these other stupid tricks that everybody else is teaching.
Hmm.
You're just doing a real deal. You're doing a slot deal and you're doing a subject to deal per year. Right? No landlording because you're going to assign it all to the buyer. And
Yeah.
you get to be the boss. Even on a slot deal, you get to pick the terms. You get to decide what you're going to do.
Hmm.
Right? And $400,000 a year, by the way, times $400,000 a year times 5 years is how much now?
200 something, 215 of
$2 million.
yeah.
In 5 years, if you made $400,000 a year on one deal, well, it's not a year, but in one deal. So you do one deal, and then you do another deal, and then you do another. By the time you get to the fifth deal, the sixth year, you're going to make $2 million. Even if you didn't do any real estate after that ever again.
Well, the nice thing about it is on the last one, it takes a few years for that to get through the time period.
Yeah.
So money keeps coming in. So I mean, if you kept each one of them for the 5 years, by the fifth year you cash out, you get a new one. Then you cash out, and you keep cashing them out. So money's coming in, and you're cashing out big chunks when you sell them. 3, 4, 5 years in. It's like having money in the bank, but it's in a house. I'd rather have my money, my value in a house than a bank that has access to your account that can turn them on and off. I'm not kidding.
What interruption, what environmental issues, what environmental contamination do you have in your life that would allow you to not do this? You need to confront that or just get out of the space and go do something else. For 2 deals a year. 2 deals a year. Suppose you got to talk to 100 people to do that.
Yeah.
That's what, 8 phone calls a month? What could possibly be happening in your life that you can't do that? I'm going to tell you right now, being as crude can be, if you just did your real estate while you were sitting on the toilet every day, you'd make these deals. Or at least in that amount of time, that 5 or 10 minutes, you could make deals over the course of a year. I'm not talking about replacing your income. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm just talking about, we got answers here. Yeah, Rocco, you're right. You just got all my attention. And he says, lazy. Thank you for admitting that, Rocco. What is happening in your life that you can't do 2 deals a year to make $2 million at the end of 5 years? And I'm going to promise you right now, you're not going to do 2 deals a year, because once you figure out how to do it, you'll do two 1 year and 3 the next and 4 the year after that. It'll multiply. That'll turn into $5-10 million before you know it.
Yeah.
No, it's not all cash in your pocket and you're going to quit your job, but eventually you will. It's stability. It's the best retirement plan I know.
Well, a lot of people plan on saving money to buy a house and get a loan from the bank. And then 3, 4 years later, they buy another one, inch by inch by inch. And this is the way to do it. You don't need loans. You don't need down payments. You just do it.
I taught in other podcasts that real estate is made to take money out of it, not put money into it. The reason why is because we're not replacing the money the seller already has in the deal. We're using the money the seller has in the deal. And in these particular cases that I just showed you, we're paying them handsomely for not taking their money out.
Yeah.
We're taking this house from a liability that they might have lived in and turning it into an asset and giving them huge profits.
Yeah.
Right. And the slot deal, for example, we're giving them, let me go back to those numbers. For 3 years, we're giving them $177,000. And we're making enough money. We're making $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 to do that transaction.
Yeah.
Anyways, in the description, there's a case study of one of our students from Creative REI Replay that has been doing it for 10 months in one of the hottest markets, I think, in Texas, because people say that Texas, you can't do this. He's in Texas and he's doing these deals. And in 10 months, 8 or 10 months, he made well over 100 grand. And he talks about that with Sean. You should go listen to that interview. It's 59 minutes long. It's
Hmm.
very enlightening to hear some of the things he does. He does a couple of things different than I do, but it's okay because he's making money.
Hmm.
And it's very interesting. You should go listen to it.
I listened to it when it came out. Yeah, absolutely.
It's a very cool thing to watch. It's
Well,
very,
he's
very
a real
interesting
guy.
to hear him. Yeah.
He's a real guy. He's not you. He's more like me, or he less experienced than me. I've been with you, and he's doing it. That's the thing. He's folks. You listening? He's you, and he's doing it.
And we're going to be doing more of these. I just haven't had a chance because I've been doing everything I'm doing. But we're going to be doing more of these interviews with people so you don't have to just hear from me. All right. Don't forget to go subscribe to us wherever you're watching us or listening to us. Make sure you leave us a review. Make sure you go Go click on the link in the description so you can watch that interview. And if you have any questions about the podcast, go to flippinghousesforrookies.com. Top right hand corner is a support link. You can send a private message to Peter and I, and one of us will respond. Or if you want to get into the mastermind group that we have, it's WhatsApp Messenger. Let's Talk Real Estate. If you can't find that, just send a support ticket and I'll send you a link to get in. Okay. With that said, thank you for all your support. Thank you for listening. Hopefully, your wheels are spinning and you're motivated to go find a deal. So, with that said, over and out. Flourish and prosper. We'll talk to you on the next podcast. Thank you for your attention.